wonder if I need a little bit of light. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here to answer your questions and about sugar detox, sugar addiction, any kind of questions you might have about sugar, we're here to answer. So put it right in the chat on the right-hand side. You can see it right here. I'll put my own little questions here for you. Anything we can answer, we're happy to do it. All righty, questions right here. Don't be shy. Just jump right in. Tell us what's going on. We've only got a couple people on, so you've got to throw your questions in there. You make sure we've got visibility in that chat. Put your questions right here. Right here in the chat. There we go. How is it that artificial sweeteners are so dangerous to recovery as sugar is? What a great question, Carol. All right, so here's the situation. Sweetness on your tongue is what we try to avoid. One of the things that's definitely missing in the understanding of sugar and sugar addiction is that your taste buds will change literally in 5 or 10 days, 10 days at the most. Carrots will taste sweet. Peppers will taste sweet. Macadamia nuts will taste like candy. Our goal in the first at least 90 days, possibly 120 or 6 months, is to get you to understand that you are not craving a sweet taste on your tongue. What you are craving is a dopamine hit. And when I say dopamine, I mean serotonin, norepinephrine, GABA, all of the adrenal, all of the brain reward chemicals are affected by sugar. And when the body senses sweetness, the whole message doesn't get all the way to the gut. The gut, you don't really process the sweetness until it gets into the gut. So, but when the taste buds taste the sweet, it's looking for both sugar and quote unquote crap sugar, whatever. I call it crap sugar because they're basically a chemical experiment, these things, right? Like a ridiculous experiment, chemical experiment that no one actually knows how it ends. And literally every year, this year it was what, erythritol, I think. Every year, it's been one time they were taken off the market for causing birth defects. I mean, there's always something going on. These are not proven things, but what they are proven is they are proven sweet, okay? And when they're proven sweet, it's helping you, assisting you, if you will, in staying on the sugar, what I call the high test, the actual sugar. So please stay away from sweetness for now, or at the very least, begin to readjust your sweetness, okay? All right, no other questions. Jump them right in there. You can see it on the right-hand side. You've got the right here. I'll put the big Q's right here. Questions here. Just navigate over there and ask your question. For the new folks, please subscribe, and we'll notify you each time we go live. You'll be able to see what's up. Then answer the questions. What else we got here? Come on, there's 5 folks on. Just give me a thumbs up that you're listening or you want questions answered. Love to answer your questions. We can't have dead air here. It's like a disc jockey. It's one of the things about being live on YouTube. And thanks for all the people that have joined us. It's the first group of folks. It's my premiere on YouTube, if you will. I'm going to look back on this and know it was kind of bad or not so good, but we'll just keep right on going with it. Couple more thumbs up. Thank you, guys. Okay, we got a question. Again, I'm going to have to get some different glasses here because I can't read it. Eliza, hey, Mike, great tip so far, avoiding the slippery slope once we reach 90, 100 days and the weight has dropped. Oh, any great tips? Yes, Eliza, the best way to look at this is not a diet. This is a lifestyle. This is not a one and done. This is not a, you detox, quote unquote, and then you just continue, or you don't continue, whatever. You start again. No, this is a lifetime program. And here's the hard news, guys. The hard news is that this is a substance use disorder recovery. This has absolutely nothing to do with diet or food or exercise, nothing whatsoever. This has to do with, we can break the pattern of you understanding that you are not searching for a sweet treat. You're not searching for a taste on your tongue or a crunchy or a smooth. You are using sugar to block feelings by getting dopamine manually manipulating your dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, GABA, endorphins, oxytocin. And our job is to bring this to the conscious level, to bring it to the level where you understand that since you were a child, you have been manually manipulating dopamine. And when I say dopamine, again, I include all of those things. Everybody knows what dopamine means. They don't really necessarily know what all the other brain reward chemicals, and you don't have to study that or know about it. But what you have to realize is that since you were a child, probably in the womb, but definitely since you were a baby, you have been manually manipulating this feel-good chemicals so that you feel better. Now, sometimes only lasts a few minutes, 5 or 10 minutes. But in the end, what happens is there's so much of it and so freely available, literally free, for even a child can score it, that we get attached unconsciously to this emotional management system that is sugar. Okay. And if you don't understand consciously and cleave that understanding apart, you will continue to solve your life's issues, your stress, your worry, your fear, your relationships, your finances, your career, your kids. All of that will be continuously solved momentarily with sugar. And if you don't kind of get this internalized and kind of understand this, and then break that habit, and then instead of the sugar, you go for a walk, you go to yoga, you get a massage, you get a pedicure, you get a manicure. Something different that brings up dopamine. Watch a sunset, get a hug, call a friend. A lot of different self-soothing. Again, we call it effort-based dopamine versus substance-based dopamine, okay? And until we break this pattern in half, literally smash it from existing, you will continue to fall back to a very reliable system of emotional management, which is quote unquote sugar, okay, or fructose in this case. All right, I hope that helps. We've got other questions. I want to keep going. Happy to revisit that one. It's a good one. But the idea, Eliza, is that you separate apart the idea that this has anything to do with what you're eating, what you're tasting, how you're exercising, but it has to do with you are unconsciously manually manipulating how you feel, okay? Boston Terrier, I need to get back on track from a long downward hill. What mindset do you need to get back on track? I get it's not about the food. Thanks. Okay, so we have some of the number 2 video, 1 and 2 videos on this channel. The number 2 video on this channel is a meditation video that if you were to listen to that in the evening and in the morning when you get up, always do it right there when you're in theta and beta, when you're kind of, jump out of bed, hit the bathroom, jump back into the warm bed, and turn on one of these meditations, okay? It slowly changes your how you feel about the sugar, okay? And also, what you want to do is you want to get a accountability group, okay? And you'll see the link down there. You go to our school group. It says uh, school.com/sugar addiction. If you go there, you're going to find hundreds of people doing the same thing. This thing, Boston Terrier, takes an inordinate amount of support. Okay, it takes an inordinate amount of um, people doing it with you, a group of people moving in the same direction, answering the same questions. Plus, we've got all kind of tips and tricks and recipes, an entire 2-hour course, my books over there. So just take a look at the link down below, hit the link, go over there, just join, just ask to be in. I'll let everybody in right after this. And you'll be involved in a group of people. I can't stress how much, gang, support is important in this. Okay, support is one of the most important parts of this process, of this formula. Um, you're going to be the odd person out, Boston Terrier. You're going to be the person who is not. You're saying no a lot. You're turning down treats. You're having to have a conversation about why. Even if you've lost some weight and people think you should start again. You got another question? I feel that I get lost in a large group. A small 4 or 5 group works better for me. Okay, so here's the situation there. We, unlike other groups, support that kind of activity. We support that you break up, you find people that resonate with you, and then you break up into what we call mini pods. These are groups of, like, you can put it on you're putting on a chat stream on your phone. You can do it on Facebook, an email thread, lots of different ways to do it. But the best thing to do is get there and find people that are like you, maybe people that are near you, maybe people that are the same, do the same types of job or work that you do. But it's important that you do it, that you find that support system. I can give you all of the information, and we have all the information in our groups, but please try and find other people that are, doing the same thing that you're doing. All right. It's a very important part of the process. Got another question. Great. Thanks. I'm a member of school. Okay, great. Perfect. All right. So, any other questions? For the folks that are brand new, if you scroll down in the description, you want to get started, take a look at the 30-day challenge. There's a link down there. That'll get you to another different group, which is like 1,400 people instead of 400, and just meetings every day. You'd love it. You'd love it. Check it out. All right, who's next? Jump in. Just ask a question there on the right-hand side. Right here, you'll see it. I'll put up all the Q's, Q, 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 Q. Put them up there, and we will answer any questions. Good turnout today for the first one, the first premiere ever. We're going to get a different streaming service here in a minute, so we're not just on one platform. We'll be on Facebook and different other ones. All right. Can you talk about the types of food that help with satiety? Okay, so the best thing to help with satiety is healthy fats. All right. The best thing is healthy fats. If you're vegetarian or vegan, avocados and olives are helpful. If you can eat fish, fatty fish, salmon, the tinned fishes, the sardines and the anchovies, wonderful, wonderful stuff. Also, if you're an animal, if you eat animal products, ribeye steaks, salmon, also eggs, bacon, no sugar bacon. Make sure you get no sugar bacon. What else? You got. There's a lot of different fatty fishes. What you want to stay away from is the super lean stuff, the tunas and the swordfishes. You want to stay away. You want to stay away. You want to get some fat in you. That will keep you, will satiate you. The larger amount of carbohydrates you eat, the more cravings you're going to have. It's pretty simple, okay? And we also like to stay away from they call them nightshade vegetables, basically. Uh, Sweet potato, or potatoes and eggplant and that kind of stuff. But in the early days, all I ask you to do is to stay off of the white stuff, the hard stuff, the flours, the sugars, and in our program, the caffeines. Okay, so please, try and get as much healthy fats in you as you can. It will keep you satiated longer, so you're not worried about being hungry or having to carry around snacks and whatever. And do your best to eat 3 times a day in the beginning. Now, if you're an intermittent faster, if you bring an intermittent fasting program to sugar addiction withdrawals, then you can easily continue it and continue your window. Say it's 16 off and 8 on. You can do that. But if you're just beginning, doing any fasting of any kind, even intermittent fasting, will set up binges. So be careful there. And again, remember, we're trying to move you ever so slightly away from thinking about, oh, what do I eat? Look, you got to eat healthy food, whole food, real food on the outside of the grocery store. Okay. We know this. This is a fact. But if you can consciously realize that when you're craving, see, our goal is to get rid of the cravings. Okay. Who the hell wants to do this if you're craving all the time? It's torture. It would be torture, right? We want to literally rewire your brain so that you no longer feel cravings for sugar, or annoying cravings for sugar. Like a little bit further down the line, you're going to find that you will have, mostly the physical cravings will have gone, but you're going to be like, there'll be an emotional game that starts after you're physically detoxed. Okay. All right. Linda wants to know, why stay away from caffeine? Did I miss this answer? Okay, very great question, Linda. Here's the scenario with caffeine. It's called wired together, fired together. Okay. And as I've mentioned, the dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, GABA, I know them all by heart now, but they're your brain reward chemicals. Caffeine is wired together with coffee and tea, Coca-Cola, coffee and sugar, chocolate, all have both sugar and caffeine in them. Okay, they're wired together, so that when your body gets one, it wants the other. Just like I mentioned with these artificial sweeteners. Your body, honestly, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but your brain is dumb, okay? Your brain is stupid, okay? All our brains are stupid. It only wants us to survive. This added layer that we have, this cerebral cortex, this frontal cortex, where our rational brain resides, is an add-on from our limbic brain. Okay, it moved up and it built from the base of the brain up. Okay, but the more powerful part is that lizard brain that pushes the dopamine, pushes the serotonin, that's what we used for 100,000 years and beyond as an evolution, to chase food and sex. Okay, to be rewarded when we find good food, to be rewarded when we find sex. Okay, and we learn to hack it with just sitting on the couch eating cake or ice cream or something. And caffeine, coffee, is the exact same thing as all of these other drugs. It's only 500 or 700 years old. It's a little older, but in mass production, it's only 200 or 300 years old, 300 or 400 years old. So we ran smack into, literally, gang, we ran smack into a group of a food system that was evolving, that did not have the science to understand. It only understood that when we ingested, we felt better. Sugar, caffeine, flour, other stuff too, other drugs. But it began to understand this. And so culture was built around it. Commerce was built around it. Okay. It all happened after 10 million years of evolution. Okay. And so here we are smack into a group of people. Okay. And so here we are smack into a group of people or a food system that is acclimated to chase food and sex just to survive. And now we have these other, I don't want to call them luxuries, but these other things that activate our dopamine and serotonin, and it's very powerful. Well, obviously, we created the species for millions of years. So we have to separate. That's our job personally, as a business, as a corporate, as a client, and one on one coaching in the groups. We have to separate apart um, your understanding of today's economy, of today's food system, of today's availability of sugar with the actual collision of our millions of years of evolution and how our brain reward chemicals work. How did I discover all this? By interviewing 400 of the world's leading experts in the last 7 years. And more importantly, in the last 3 to 4 years, where all of these people started to come together and move away from the body, move away from the glucose and the diabetes and the weight gain, and start to understand that the reason 95, gang, write this down, 95% of people cannot stay off of sugar is because when they try, they get a little bit down the line, they lose a little bit of weight, and then they run into a circumstance in their life where they have to, where they're worried, they're fearful, they're nervous, relationships, finance, kids, job, whatever, and they fall back to this coping mechanism that has worked for hundreds of years, thousands of years, and that your parents co-opted you into by giving you a sweet treat and letting you let you soothe, self-soothe with that, okay? When you intellectually, physically, and emotionally grasp this construct, your life will change, and it'll change rapidly. And moreover, here's a big word. Write this one down. When you accept it as reality, okay? Now look, you don't have to accept it as reality for the rest of your life. You only have to do it for 90 days, 120 days, 6 months, just to see if it works for you, okay? To understand that you are not looking for sweetness, treats, food of any kind. You are looking to feel better, ever so slightly, ever so slightly. And when you understand that, you will change. All right. Let me see if we got questions. I got to get that. Anybody know how to make these things bigger? Okay, there's the caffeine question. Bring it, guys. More questions in this little chat over here. Over here. Look over here. Over here. Look in the chat. Throw them in there. Love to answer any more questions that you have. And throw those thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. It will help you be notified the next time. We've had Zoom meetings with over 1,000 people on them, and we want to get there on YouTube with this because we'll help a lot of folks. If you really want to dive into it, go down below, hit that school group, join that free school group. If you're really motivated and ready to go, scroll a little bit down further under See More and hit the 30-day challenge and join that. You'll love it. All right, who's next? Jump in. Wow, we're 20 minutes in. Still got quite a few people on, but we don't have any questions. One of the questions I get a lot, gang, is, do I have to do this for the rest of my life? Caffeine, helpful. Thank you, Linda. I appreciate it. There's another question. I'm going to get some fancy looking glasses or something. Carol, I have quick sugar, but my impulse to have something in my mouth still rears its ugly head. Popcorn is my current vice. But nuts have been in the past. What's that all about? Okay, so look, what you're doing, and you're going to love this. This is science, okay? This is science meets what's happening with you, all right? So I was recently interviewing the world's leading fructose expert, or one of them anyway, and he said something amazing that he just discovered. Now, gang, look, the science of fructose is only about 12 or 15 years old, really, literally. We've only been discussing it over 12 or 15 years. And in the last 2 to 3 years, it's expanded exponentially. Okay. So I'm going to take these separately, Carol, these two different things that you've got going on. You really haven't quit sugar, Carol. Okay. You think you have, but you haven't. One of the things the good doctor told me was that the body can produce fructose. Okay, fructose is why you're doing this. Okay, we all know what glucose does to the body: diabetes, weight gain, possibly Alzheimer's, metabolic syndrome it creates. Okay, arthritis, all kind of different autoimmune stuff, chronic fatigue and lupus. All this stuff goes into remission. Type 2, we've got hundreds of examples, okay? That's the glucose half. Now, this is important, kind of a little science lesson. Half of the glucose, half the sugar molecule is glucose, half is fructose. What we have not understood to date is the fructose half of the molecule. And in my world, the addiction recovery world, the fructose is the reason you can't stay stopped, okay? The reason you can't stop. And here's the big aha, Linda. One of the ways that the body can create fructose is a combination of carbohydrates and salt. Carbohydrates and salt. And the body can produce a small amount of fructose with meat or animal products, but with carbohydrates and salt, it literally produces fructose, okay? Meaning you are producing fructose. French fries are the worst because they are the ultimate carbohydrate and salt, but popcorn is the same, okay? And so this is exactly what happens when you eat popcorn. You are producing fructose, and this is keeping your brain reward chemicals lit up, okay? Now, the nuts, write this one down, gang, and look this up on Google. Drupes. I'm going to spell it for you. D-R-U-P-E-S. Drupes. Drupes are the seeds of fruit. They're not nuts. Cashews, almonds, pecans. These things are hybridized to take the bitterness out of that seed so that they are ingestible as a nut. And they have a slight sweetness to it. Macadamia nuts are the same thing. Even walnuts, which are actually true nuts, they've been hybridized to take the bitterness out, okay? Trying to find the proper, not to go too far, the proper amount of fructose. Can you imagine this? This is one of the fastest growing nuts on the market. Pistachio nuts are the highest fructose nut on the market, okay? There's these brand new, this is one vendor, I can't remember their name, Absolutely or something. They've got all different, different flavors, if you will, all kinds. But they have natural, but there's no nuts with them. So you can literally eat a whole bag at a sitting very easily. And I've done it, believe me. So you're literally eating like you're eating sugar. Okay. You're not eating sugar, but you're eating fructose. Okay. And the fructose is causing you to crave more or want more or continuously use the product. You're reinforcing the using of the fructose. Now remember, gang, this is important. This is super, 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 super important. We only got fructose once or twice a year when this is in an evolutionary view, once or twice a year when the fruit, which doesn't look anything like the fruit we eat today, the little crab apples or little berries on the bushes were ripe at their peak ripeness for 1 week, then the animals would clean them off, okay? And you can literally, the fructose researchers have proven that ingesting large amounts of fructose causes behavioral changes, not just ingestion and diet changes. It causes people to do risky behaviors, meaning animals will go into areas where they know there's predators to score this fructose, okay? They will risk getting stung by a bee and break apart a beehive to get to that honey, okay? They'll do very dangerous things. And so what has evolved in the last 12 or 15 years, and a lot in the last 2 or 3 years, is this idea that the thing that's stopping you from using sugar is fructose. Okay, so look at it. Got a big wow on the caffeine, a big wow on the sugar. I mean the fructose. All right, we don't have any questions in the chat. We've got a good bunch of people. Don't have as many thumbs up as we need. 15, 14 people and only 7 thumbs up. Come on, guys, hit that, smash that button and subscribe to this channel so that you will be notified and that YouTube will know that we can get this out to a few more people. We've got another half an hour. If you guys are up for it, I'm willing to stay. We just jumped to 20 people. There it is. There's the thumbs up. Put the thumbs up at the below the thing. Don't put it in there. Put it on the interface there. Okay. Still don't have any questions. Please, love to have the questions answered. Join the challenge. Like if you want, for the new folks that just arrived, there's some questions there and you can watch the replay, but please don't hesitate to ask your own questions right there on the right-hand side. Oh, let me see this say, Janet, will it be flour free forever? Great question, Janet. So in your progression of healing, I call it healing, okay? Very super important way to look at this, okay? Don't be looking at it like a deprivation of something. Look at it like you're healing up from something that is causing internal inflammation, okay? Write that down, internal inflammation, okay? And here's what we ask you to do. And for the new folks that don't know about scratch tests, we ask you to do a scratch test. And the scratch test takes some time. You know, when the doctor gives you a scratch test for dust or ragweed or pollen or something, they'll scratch you and then they'll put that in there. And if it irritates it, then you're allergic to it, right? Well, our scratch test is to bring you back to maybe like 400, 500 years ago, where no flour, no sugar, no caffeine, and see how you feel, okay? See while your skin clears up. See if you lose weight. See if your arthritis doesn't hurt. See if your indigestion helps or whatever. All of these things. And maybe, and I break this down, gang, there's a percentage of you, and I'm going to be honest with you, 9 or so percent of you, 30% of you, who you're stone cold addicts. Sorry, don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but biochemically, you will never be able to ingest flour and sugar without creating massive cravings to breed more flour and sugar. Now, another third of you is going to be called what's called a harmful user. And a harmful user is someone who is, they might be able to go back to having a birthday cake or having a Christmas treat once in a while, once they get it under control, okay? Now, the flour part of it is the same way. If the flour eventually, maybe you try like a nut flour or a spelt flour or some other kind of different flour, coconut flour, whatever, and you don't get cravings, but not for 6 months or 3 months. Give yourself some time first. I mean, you've done hard things, gang. You've birthed children. You've gone to advanced degrees. You get probably a tough job, whatever. Give yourself time to heal up and see what it's like with zero, all right? And then after that, try just one at a time. Just one thing. So if you want to try a little something with spelt flour, then try it, okay? So the answer to your question is maybe, but first, let's heal you up. Let's get you off the hard stuff. All right, lots of questions coming in, gang. Let me get over there. Sadly, I have to put my glasses on to do it. Like bread, loves sourdough. A lot of people say sourdough is not as glycemically, like it doesn't jack your blood sugar up. But again, sourdough is bread. It's flour. It's pasta. Just give yourself a little bit of time and then come back, but only come back with that one thing, okay? just eat one piece of sourdough bread. Best thing to do maybe is to have a glucose monitor. And if you can get it now, we'll talk about it. I'll answer questions about it. But a continuous glucose monitor, okay? See if you can get a continuous glucose monitor. There, you can get one at Nutrisense.io. That's Nutrisense.io. And if you put in, let me put it in there, Nutrisense, you spell it right, .io, and then put in CGM Guy, and you'll get a little discount there. All right. And that will tell you what sourdough bread, I wouldn't do it if you're in the middle of a detox, but later, or if you haven't started the detox, it'll give you a baseline, okay? One thing that scares people, and I think the world changes when continuous glucose monitors actually do come out, is that they eat something like this and their blood sugar goes through the roof, okay? So you just have to try, you have to get yourself down the way a little bit and then try it. Don't try it. Please, I've detoxed over 10,000 people, okay? Worked one-on-one with over 1,000 people, okay? It's just at this point, pattern recognition. My job, if you accept my help, is to get you off the hard stuff, the sugar, the flour, the caffeine, and then let's see where you are. Let's take another assessment in 3 or 4 months or 6 months, okay? I'm guaranteeing that if you lost that weight and your skin is better and your brain fog cleared up, you're going to really want to not go back right away, okay? So let's get you there. Eliza. Mike, can you talk about alcohol and it fits in, doesn't fit into this way of life? Yeah, look, especially red wine, okay? Here's another, and you guys are going to kind of, turn off the stream because you get me tired of me hearing this, but red wine has fructose in it. Now, not only is alcohol straight ass sugar, excuse my French, but it has fructose in it. So you're drinking both alcohol and fructose when you're drinking red wine, and the redder the wine, the more the fructose, okay? So please, and here's what we found, okay? People they want to quit a little bit, whatever. They want to stop a little bit. But they want to have their glass of wine on Friday night, okay? But what happens is they end up with severe sugar cravings on Saturday morning, all day. And then they're a little blue and a little depressed. And you start to realize that they're all the same. It's the exact same thing. Wired together, fired together. Hitting it in your brain with your dopamine and serotonin and norepinephrine and GABA and everything else. It's being affected by the alcohol. So again, just like the scratch test, if you would, please do not use alcohol in the beginning, right? And again, and I do believe this. I believe I've done it. I believe hundreds of our people have done it. Once you rewire your brain, literally rewire neuroplasticity and rewire your brain, a glass of wine is probably not going to kill you or create cravings, right? If you're a harmful user, likely you can go back to some level of normalcy once a year, twice a year, 3, whatever, your decision. What you don't want to do is to re-ingest and create and set up cravings again. That won't help, right? So please, I call it buying into Mikey's little fantasy, okay? Just for 3 months, 6 months, whatever, just buy into the fantasy that if you do this as written, as the program is written, then you'll be able to possibly heal up enough to have changed your relationship with sugar. And that's all we can ask, right? But there's work in this now. We have never even gotten into the emotional part of this. So no one's asking those questions because everybody's a little afraid to, I'm guessing. Okay. Please talk about how sugar causes inflammation in the body. Okay. So look, inflammation, I call this internal cutting, okay? I'm working on this book and this theory about internal cutting, gang. Like if you were to drag a razor across your arm, right, and you bled, when you talk to people that self-harm this way, those folks do it for that little bit of dopamine, endorphins, this little bit of numbing that comes with it, okay? just soothes the brain for 5 or 10 minutes. Okay. It's very peaceful. Okay. Sounds crazy, but it's very true. And so, what I want to relay to you that's super important and very serious is that the science is just now very, very clear that if you are ingesting sugar, you're tearing up your joints, you're tearing up all parts of your body. The inflammation is high. I mean, every single one of our success stories that got their inflammation markers tested before they came to us and then tested them after have decreased or disappeared their inflammation. Okay. This is no longer, the uric acid that it's created, the things in the joints, the arthritis. Arthritis is literally a paper tiger, gang. Arthritis, hands and knees all heal, all cure. The pain goes away because you are no longer internally cutting yourself. You're no longer internally self-harming yourself. And that's where we've risen. This is where this level has risen to. You can't unsee this, gang. You can't unring this bell. Okay. It's over with. Your understanding, if you watched our summits or followed our information or watched this YouTube channel, you understand that sugar is inflaming the insides of your body in every regard, from your liver, where it's creating fatty liver, to your, it's in your intestines, where it's literally separating what's called tight junctions in endothelioma. I'll never pronounce it right. Endothelioma. It's pulling them apart and making little holes, causing leaky gut. And so sugar causes inflammation. Sugar is internal self-harm at this point. Okay. And no, you're not going to find that term on Google because I invented it. It's truly a internal cutting scenario where what's happening. You don't have to ask me. Ask Dr. Google what inflammation does. You can Google sugar and inflammation, get hundreds of thousands of pages. But at this juncture, my job is to raise to your conscious awareness this idea that you are doing this to yourself, not so much in a way where you desire to draw a razor across your arm or self-cut or hurt yourself, but you are a member of a society who doesn't yet accept these scientific paradigms yet, like seatbelts in cars, drinking and driving, seatbelts in cars. When science changes, the old guard, old people, I don't want to say old people age-wise, but people who are accustomed to ways of doing things don't want to change too rapidly. So, gang, look, this is a real thing, and once you can't unring this bell. Okay, you can fight it if you'd like, but please, it's not going to help. All right. Down below on the thing under see more, or right there, hit that school group, join the free school group for you new folks. And we will, we'll tell if you want to join the paid group, it's less than $100. Just hit that 30-day challenge down there in the description. And I will continue. We've got about 20 minutes. So get your questions up and we will get there. We'll get to you. Sweet potatoes and potatoes off limits forever. No, again, like some people, our vegetarian friends, in our program, we have something called borderline foods. You can write that down, borderline foods. Borderline foods are nuts and nut butters, dairy, fruit, dried fruit, and fruit juices and grains. Okay. And, but sweet potatoes and that would fall in the grains kind of the department, where like high glycemic stuff that our vegetarian friends must eat in order to even get enough calories to live. So what you're looking to do is to, again, I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but let's get you off of the hard stuff first. And during that time period, if you eat a little sweet potato or a little potato, it's not going to kill you. Here's the main thing to watch out for. You don't want it to set up cravings. So if you have a sweet potato on a Thursday night and Friday, you're starving all day and thinking about your favorite sweet treat, excuse me, then please, no more sweet potatoes, okay? It's sweet potatoes have a pretty good high amount of fructose in them, whereas white potatoes do not. So the problem with white potatoes or grains that also don't have any fructose in it is they raise your glucose levels, and that would show on a glucose monitor. Problem is, big problem, is that fructose doesn't show on any damn monitors except for breath monitors, okay? And those are not expensive. You can get one, but they don't show on anything, okay? And so the psychoactive part of the problem, the equation, the thing that keeps you on it, is not being shown on the glucose monitor. And the glucose monitor, like the caffeine, wired together, fire together, you raise that glucose level, your body's going to want fructose. It's going to want sugar. It's going to want the real stuff, the high test, like I call it, right? So it becomes a vicious circle. Again, this may sound, all what I'm saying may sound kind of complicated, but it's not, after you just give yourself a level of acceptance that this is 10,000 experiments. And look, I learned as much from the 3,000 that didn't make it as the 7,000 that did, okay? I watched how they failed. I watched what happened to them as they failed, okay? And then the hundreds of people that I've worked one-on-one and our coaches have worked with one-on-one, we've seen what happens to them when they fight us, okay? I call it wiggle room, okay? People want to, and a lot of these questions are wiggle room, okay? They're like, oh, can I have this? Can I have that? You know, like that. It's like, look, go wiggle somewhere else. go get some wiggle room in your finances. Go get some wiggle room in your relationship. I don't know. But for this, for just a little bit of time, 30, 60, 90 days, do it as I say. Again, I don't like to say it that way. I don't want to sound authoritarian, but if you eliminate the wiggle room, one of the things I like is it's a lot easier to do 100% abstinence than it is to do 98% abstinence. It is, because of the cravings that it creates. You know what I mean? All right, let's get back to this. Sorry. All right. Barb, pros and cons. I appreciate you establishing this program. I'm still detoxing and I'm looking forward to feeling better. How do I register for the 30 days and beyond? Okay, so if you go in there and you click one of the meetings, Barb, well, if you'll send me an email at michael@sugaraddiction.com or info@sugaraddiction.com, and I'll send you a link to that. What she's describing, gang, is the detox, if you see it below there, is 30 days. I come into your inbox every day with a video of all these questions and walk you through the whole detox. But then I don't want to leave you hanging. So we have what's called Detox to Lifestyle, which is on top of that. And you'll see it. And you'll see it in there. That you can't find it is a little problem you're showing me. And I thank you for that, Barb, because it needs to be very well found in that inside that program. I have no information. Let me see. I have no more information in any of my fingers or anywhere else. Huh. I don't know what that is, Janet. Janet, write me, and I'm going to send you an email a little bit later. Still detoxing and loving your program. Sarah, can you talk about managing your feelings? Whoa, that's a big one. What time is it? We've been in 48 minutes. We got 12. Okay. All right. So look, managing your feelings. Great question, Sarah. Great question. And literally the core of our program, entire videos on it, entire webinars on it, entire literal weeks spent upon it. Here's what happens, okay? Now this might happen during the detox, just depends. People that I find that have like 100 or more pounds to lose, who have never really experienced life without sugar, who are heavy as children, like 5 and 6 years old, baby, small children, who've always used sugar. The parents always use sugar. Those folks rapidly go into a process of emotional upheaval pretty quickly. Okay. Now, sometimes it doesn't happen for 7 or 10 days, but it does happen. Okay. And managing your feelings has to happen consciously. The problem, as I mentioned earlier in the video, is that a lot of times what happens is we we are doing this, we have been doing this unconsciously. Okay, we're not conscious of this behavior because sugar is so free and so available. So my job, our job as a team, as coaches and as our community and our meetings, 2 and 3 Zoom meetings a day and the challenges, is to bring to your conscious level to literally keep like interrupting the pattern that is uh, craving, ingest, craving, ingest, craving, ingest. We have to break that apart. And the only way we break that apart is for you to realize that, as I've said earlier today, we're not trying to get a sweet taste. You are not trying to get a sweet taste on your tongue. As much as that is what you are theoretically craving physically, that's not what you're trying to get. You are trying, and you are trying to get a little bit of relief for two things. One, you may be getting withdrawals from sugar, caffeine, or whatever, or you realize unconsciously that your boss is a pain in the ass, your husband is a pain, your kids are a pain, you're broke, whatever the worry financially, emotionally, whatever the relationship worry, whatever it is, you have learned when your boyfriend broke up with you when you were 16 years old, then you had a sugar and ice cream party with your girlfriends, that just for 20 minutes and then another 20 minutes if you reingest and another 20 minutes if you reingest and another 20, you get the picture, where you keep eating, okay, you keep using sugar, that you will numb out a little bit. You will not feel this feeling, whatever the feeling is, and usually not a good feeling. Usually when we come in, the good feelings are accentuated with the sugar and we're like, but the bad feelings are depressed, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you something true you may not know, all right? When a baby is circumcised, and if for those that you don't know what that is, it's surgery on a penis, circumcised, they give them as a pain reliever something called Sweeties. And Sweeties is just sugar. That's all it is. It's a little binky thing full of sugar, all right? You pull it off the little tab, you put it in the baby's mouth, and the baby stops crying. It's like that, okay? Because they're too small to give narcotics to, it's too dangerous, and they give them the sugar, and then it doesn't hurt, okay? Now, with the opioid crisis, the reason that is an opioid crisis is not because your leg stops hurting, which is the reason you got the crap for, but it gives you an emotional blanket. The best analogy or the best description I ever heard is like a nice big warm hug, okay? And you emotionally just check out of your life. You check out of all your worries and all your fears and all your anxieties. They all go away for a little bit, okay? And then they come back worse, multiplied with friends, okay? And you have to take another pill, okay? Well, the same thing is happening with sugar. Problem is nobody's giving that respect to sugar. But if you talk with someone who's lost 100 pounds or 200 pounds, or anybody who had a massive sugar habit, they don't talk about what they ate. They don't talk about, what do you call it? Their exercise program or their diet program or their can I eat this or can I eat that. They talk about how they had to reconfigure how they use and deal with their emotions, okay? And now finally, sugar is getting its due, and the dose makes the poison. Like when we take a little heroin, a little alcohol, one opioid pill. Anybody with any habit, probably if you took time to listen to this podcast or this YouTube live streaming, whatever it is, you have used sugar to your detriment emotionally, okay? You have blunted and blocked feelings. And when you when you take when we together, you and I, take your crutch away, when we deprive you of that emotional management tool, You're bare to the world. You're naked, like learning how to walk again, okay? The common refrain is, Mike, I'm losing my mind, okay? About 7 to 10 days in. Now, it doesn't happen to everyone, and it doesn't happen at large extremes sometimes. And sometimes it doesn't happen for 60 days until this stuff starts to catch up with you. But it does happen, okay? And emotionally, you're going to need other self soothing methods, other coping mechanisms that are dopamine producing, serotonin producing. These are running and walking and exercise and these kinds of things, okay? So, look, again, there is no way in the last 5 minutes that I can explain this entire process. We have like an hour video in our core videos inside the 30-day challenge. Like, I think days, I don't know, somewhere around 15 to 25 cover this whole thing. And the detox, and then detox the lifestyle, as someone had mentioned, that's all we do. Okay. We're trying to find out how your life is evolving without your crutch, without your sweet sugar or what have you. So it's I don't want to say complicated because it's not complicated. What it is awareness, acceptance building. If you can become aware and accept that the possibility that this crazy guy with the crazy neon sign on his wall is talking truth, that level of acceptance will get you healthy. It'll get you well. It'll get you thin. It'll get you type 2 diabetes in remission. It'll get rheumatoid arthritis in remission. Okay. So if that's the case, then please, join one of the groups, the free group, join the paid group, call me being a coach, whatever you want. I'm here for you. But if you're not willing, people ask me, Mike, what's your business model? I say, I sort for people who are ready. Okay. If you're not ready, then all of this is not going to help. And whether or not you eat a certain food is not going to help, or whether or not you eat flour is not, none of that's going to help. You have to accept this paradigm that I've just articulated. And thank you so much, Sarah, for asking the question. If you don't accept this paradigm, you're bound and determined to repeat it. Okay. Now, are there people who, once they quit sugar, none of this ever happens to? Yes, absolutely. That's true. But it's pretty rare. Okay. It's pretty rare, especially if they had any habit at all. If what I'm describing doesn't ring true to someone, likely they were on the really high end, a low end, whatever you want to look at it, of a harmful user. They had, just because of the food system, and because 85% of food has sugar in it, they had ended up with a little bit of, a sugar dependency or a sugar habit. Okay. And that when they dropped it, but those folks are pretty rare, very rare. Exactly. And most of them don't end up in my program because they don't really need me. Okay. They just need some kind of accountability and no sugar for a little bit to see if they can come back to homeostasis. But if any of this sounds familiar, even if you've been in therapy for decades, I've been telling people lately, you've literally unwound all of that therapy at the 7-Eleven on the way home. Okay. Because and I always say this, therapy plus sugar equals 0 net effect. Because all this emotional work that you did trying to find out why you use sugar, right, or alcohol or whatever, is unwound with sugar. Okay. Think about that for a minute. Okay. All the work is unwound with sugar because you numbed it out again. So you didn't get to the conclusion. And you guys know, I'm not telling anything if you're adults, that you don't get closure or you don't process something out in a day. Okay. So if you're using sugar the same day that you got a big crying, snotting, heaving therapy session, you're ending up like on the other side, like you're not solving the problem, because it's a very common construct in the world of alcohol and drugs that if you started using alcohol and drugs at 14 or 15, you stop growing emotionally, right? And it takes time to come back to your own feelings about everything. It just takes time. And when you confer on sugar, the power to do this, and the only way you're going to know that I'm not crazy or this is not crazy is to get in one of our groups and listen to people who have succeeded, who talk this way, who speak this way, who talk about, you know, they don't talk about, like I said, their weight or their diet plan or anything like that. They talk about how sugar robbed them of being able to feel uh, the emotions that they're feeling. And sometimes the emotions suck, gang. But I always like the saying, but at least I'm feeling again. Right? At least I'm back to feeling. Well, this has been absolutely wonderful. I'll stay on a little bit longer. We're at the top of the hour, and we had a bunch more people, and they jumped off. But if you've got a question, throw it out there. Otherwise, we will be doing this every week at the very least, maybe every, couple times a week, because you guys were wonderful. This has been a wonderful experience for me for my first one. We're going to try and get a platform that helps me go live on different platforms so that I'm able to, how shall I say, broadcast at the same time to Facebook. I don't think we can do Instagram, but Facebook and YouTube at the same time. And I think that will be exciting for folks. So, gang, this is great. Thank you. Thank you, guys. You guys are the best. Hearts. Thank you so much. You guys are the best. And let me, I'll definitely be back next week, maybe on Thursday. I've been looking at Thursday as another time, but keep an eye on your email. Keep an eye on if you make sure you've hit the subscribe button here, they will notify you. And get in the school group. I'd love to have you guys in that are just seeing us for the first time. It sounds overwhelming, I understand, but please, I'd love to have you guys. All right, gang. Thank you so much. Mike, the Sugar Free Man, signing off, and we will talk to you real soon. Bye for now.